Nice to see your faces. And it's lovely always to work with this gentleman, Mr. Harold Payne. And you are welcome here.
You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. I am welcome. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. Yes, I am. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. Our arms are wide open. There's room for everyone. Wherever you're going, wherever you're from, you are home. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Yes, you are. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. We are welcome. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. Oh, oh, we are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. I am welcome. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. Play it, Andy. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. I am welcome. Let's go back to we a cappella. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. A little bit louder. We are welcome here. We are welcome here. We are welcome here.
And please, talking of welcoming, welcome to the Bema, Reverend Dr. Keith Cox.
Good morning, everyone. What a great song, Harold Payne. I love that. We might use that more frequently. Is that good? It did? The wonderful, beautiful, blah, 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 blah. Karen Drucker, yes. So aren't we happy to have with us Harold Payne here this morning? Yes. The wonderful balladeer and songbird, Harold Payne, along with Andy Belling, here, our co-music director. So, good morning and happy Sunday, everyone. Good. What a pleasure to come together on this beautiful sunny Southern California day to be in spirit together, to be in community, to honor the oneness of life that exists in and as all of us. And so as we share this time together with purpose and an intention to open our minds to a new awakening to who we are as divine beings, I invite you to take this very brief moment and turn off any electronic device that you have with you, unless its purpose is to sustain your life. And as you do that, we're going to say hello to those that are watching us online, hello live streamers and Facebook livers, and let's welcome Harold Payne back up to the Bema to carry us on a musical
Call to peace.
to the Bema to carry us on with a new song called Called to Peace. So Harold Payne, ladies and gentlemen.
Most of the songs I have memorized, but you know, you're worth coming up with new songs that I don't quite have memorized yet. In the midst of chaos, I see a ray of hope, a
coming together of unprecedented scope, a return to oneness and compassion, where simple kindness is a first reaction, where all rancor is released. This is a call to peace. There have been times when we've been tested, felt isolated, disconnected, but we are stronger than our fears, and the future is brighter than it appears. And we can build on our common beliefs. This is a call to peace. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love. It's a call to the greatness we're all made of. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love. You're my brother and my sister, and we all know there's a bond between us that we can't let go. I'll hear your truth, and you'll hear mine. We'll respect each other until we find that all bitterness can simply cease. This is a call to peace. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love. It's a call to the greatness we're all made of. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love. It's a call to peace. Oh, it's a call to love. It's a call to the greatness we're all made of. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love.
Thank you.
So beautiful. Harold asked me if he could, isn't that great? He asked if he could do that song, and I think it speaks exactly to who we are as awakened metaphysicians. And we're all awakened metaphysicians because we're aware that we have choice, and we use our ability to choose to express our divinity to whatever degree we're conscious of ourselves as divine beings. That's really what we come together for here on Sunday mornings, is to provide a safe space for each individual to find their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. We do that primarily through the philosophy and the faith and the way of life known as the Science of Mind, which is a teaching. It's a book that was put together and published in 1926 by, the author is Dr. Ernest Holmes, who is a late 20th century metaphysician and late 19th century metaphysician that took what he perceived at the time were the greatest aspect of the world religions and put them in a concise philosophy and faith and way of life known as the Science of Mind. If you were to distill it down, or if I were to distill it down, which I do oftentimes, the essence of the teaching is that there's only one activity that's taking place in the universe, and that we are one with and as that activity. Now, you could call that activity God. It's a good word for it. Or you can also call it source or the thing itself or life. And not only are we one full expression of that one thing, but we are one as the one individualized. And that we both experience and express that power through our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions and our reactions and our interactions in life. And then we get to experience those thoughts and actions and reactions and interactions with life because the universe that we live in is governed by spiritual law. And so the spiritual law is that we experience the sum total of what's going on in our mind and the sum total of how we know ourselves to be as divine beings. Now, obviously, you all know that to some degree because you resonate with this philosophy and faith and way of life, and you're here today. But we also believe in this philosophy and faith and way of life that there's something deeper within you that knows that you know that you know that, and that is your innate nature. And so when we try to put that in more simplified terms, it's believed in this philosophy and faith and way of life that there are some qualities that exist as the divine or God in the universe. And because we're one with that power, they exist within us as well. And they're peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom. And so should we desire to experience more of that in our life, what we're called to be is more of the things that reside within us. And so as we've now kicked off the chronological Gregorian calendar of the year 2020, I have declared for us that we're going to focus on peace. Letting that peace that exists within us be a foundational way of life. Peace not just as a state of inner calm, as Dr. Holmes defines it, but peace, the acronym for it, purposeful energy activates conscious evolution. And so today, as we open our service and light our candle, our peace candle, I invite you to ask yourself, where in your life can you purposefully activate your energy, the energy of life that exists within you, your mental energy, your compassionate energy, your heart-filled energy, in a way that causes conscious evolution. In other words, that you rise to a higher state of mind than when you walked in. And I'm going to go deeper into this approach to living this way as we move into our message in just a moment. But prior to us doing that, I'd like for us to open with a song that's titled, "Let There Be Peace on Earth." And I think that as we sing this together and hear it sung together and feel that resonance field, it'll help us be more receptive to hearing what we came here to hear today, to feel what we came here to feel, and to be reminded of that which we know. So I'd like to invite to the bema our illuminator of the day, the one, the only, the beautiful, a great presence in our teaching here is Olivia Ludi. So Olivia, here she goes. And Harold and Andy will take us along. Hold on, I'll let you know when it's time to there. And so let's sing along. Ready? And the lyrics are on your handout on the back.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And so as Olivia lights the candle of peace, I invite you to close your eyes and in your mind's eye begin to see the flickering flame of this candle, choosing to let it be a reminder to each of us of the light of life that exists within all and as all. This very moment is that state of inner calm. It's the resolve of letting go of what was and being present to the now. And as we go deeper, we become more and more aware of the interconnectedness of life. And feeling this energy from a deeper place, we purposefully use it in a way to activate conscious evolution, not just for ourselves, but as a ripple effect for all mental beings. Yes, let there be peace on earth, and right now, let it begin with me. As we say together, so it is. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you. So peace can come to us in so many different ways in life. And as I've said before, I think that we oftentimes think that it can only be experienced on a yoga mat or in meditation or in some catatonic state or just simply as some idea that's far-reaching and beyond us. One of the quotes that we've used several times in our class recently, the first two classes on the Map of Conscious Evolution by Dr. David Hawkins, and the most recent class that I'm teaching, and we just finished class 3 on the mystical nature of conscious evolution, and I invite you to come check it out if you hadn't, because it's a pretty darn good class, if I say so myself, on how to use this teaching in a way to broaden your conscious engagement in everyday life. It's how to use these principles in a way that is beyond theoretical, and it's a real practical application to consciously moving up that map of consciousness to become a conscious evolutionist. But the quote that I love and I've been living by over the last week and instructing the students to do the same is this: the most important spiritual growth doesn't happen when you're meditating or on a yoga mat. It happens in the midst of conflict, when you're frustrated, angry, or scared, and you're doing the same old thing, and then you suddenly realize that you have a choice to do it differently. Interesting, huh? Anybody had that experience that you're repeating the same old crap, if you will, in life, and the same old reaction and the same old possibility of the same interaction is unfolding in life, and then all of a sudden you just stop and ask yourself, what am I here to do? What am I here to be? Am I willing in this very moment to potentially, literally take a step back, but for sure, metaphorically take a step back and choose anew? To be willing in that very moment to have a spiritual awakening, to know that there's only good transpiring in the universe, contrary to any external experience, and that we are one with and as that good, and we get to experience it to the degree, not only that we're conscious of it, but to the degree that we're willing to express it, and to use the law of life in a way that we rise up in consciousness, and in so doing, the universe must respond in like. There's a post that I get often called the Mind Journal, and it's little tidbits on how to think anew, and it's the basic metaphysical stuff, just reframed in new language sometimes. And here's one that I got that I just love that speaks to this concept. And it says, the universe does this thing, where it aligns you with people, things, and situations that match the energy you put out. The more you improve yourself and raise your vibration, the more you'll see that things are beneficial to your well-being. Well, what the hell does that mean? What it means is the universe is always responding impersonally to the energy and the vibration that we put out. Now, as many of you know, I'm an addict for the work of Dr. David Hawkins, and his entire work is all about the energy, the frequency that you put out, and it comes back to you. But what this quote is going on to tell us is that the more that we work on ourselves of knowing who we are as divine beings and then applying that information, applying that self-awareness, applying the tools that we have and raise our vibration, then we will begin to attract in our world more things that we realize are beneficial to our well-being, including those times of conflict. That time where there may be a serious disagreement. Not always it's taking place in the external, but how often are we having those internal disagreements, those internal clashes, that internal incompatible scenario of where we know that we're God and we want to scream expletives out into the universe? Anyone ever have that experience? I've witnessed it in some of you, yes. So I can relate to this experience of knowing who we are, and yet the external seems to be completely contradictory to who we know ourselves to be as a divine being. Now, personally, I had this experience in the last 2 days when I experienced what the physician called the flu. Gave me a lot of time to sit in inquiry and resolution and to reflect basically the question that I kept asking myself as an evolved spiritual being. And I'm not going to use the word that I was asking it, but basically I was saying, what the hell? Like, what's going on here? Did I cause this experience in my life? Can I change it? What is mine to do? And as you can tell, there's still some remnants hanging on. What is mine to do, to be, to know? I kept asking myself, how am I to grow, flow, and know as spirit during this experience that I'm having called the flu? And just so we're clear, it wasn't pretty. It was the opposite of pretty. But I came to the conclusion that I think we're all called more and more and more to ask ourselves in all of life, how am I to grow, to flow, and to know as spirit? Well, what is spirit, we might ask ourselves? Well, Dr. Holmes defines spirit in this way. He says, spirit is the self-knowing one. It's the conscious universe. It's the absolute. Spirit in the human is that part of the human that allows them to know themselves. It's that which they really are. Now, before I go on, I realized that I was remiss in letting you know that in our new format here on Sunday mornings, when I'm done speaking, you have the opportunity to ask questions. So if there's some brewing within you, you can do that when we get to that point, as well as anyone online, and you can send that through Facebook Messenger, and Sarah can get them. So what does this mean that we're here to grow and to flow and to know as spirit, as a spiritual being? Well, I think the piece to this that sticks out to us the most is that spirit, the absolute, the conscious universe, the self-knowing one in the human, is that part of the human that enables them to know themselves. Well, themselves as a human? Well, on some levels, yes. But we're talking about transcendent of the human aspect of who we are. That in those moments of running a fever and taking NyQuil and eating Mucus X and aspirin and cough drops endlessly, who am I to know myself to be as a divine being? If deep within me there is perfection and wholeness and completeness, if I'm pure spirit, if I have the possibility and the potentiality to walk as the Christ does, then what the hell is going on here? Well, I think what's going on in this situation is an internal conflict. It is the internal conflict within me of congestion and being blocked and the needing for combustion to be burned away. It was this deep knowing with me for me to ask myself, what is trying to find expression in me that hasn't been able to do so, that I haven't provided a clear avenue in my mind for? What is that? Now, I'm not going to stand before you today and do a long, rich history of personal self-analysis. I could, and I have before, but today's not the day. But what I do know, and the conclusion that I came to in this journey, is that in recent times in our class, We all made a commitment together, a covenant. If you will, we didn't literally, but metaphorically sliced our finger and put it in a circle together and bled together, saying, we are going to live a judgment-free, zoned life. And no sooner did I commit to that, the universe brought to me opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity in an urgent care and a pharmacist and on the floor, and you get the picture, right? To choose whether or not to be judgment-free. And potentially all of that blockage that was going on with me, that was rising up and making itself known to me, was a result of all the years that I had lived in judgment. It was the toxicity of an unhealthy mindset, if you will, that was rising up. It was being called to be faced and approached and cleansed. In other words, what I was doing was I was responding, my being was responding to that call to be a conscious evolutionist who's choosing to live on a mystical journey. Because I do believe that that's what we're all called here to do as we have become spiritually awakened to know who we are as spiritual beings, and we're personally empowered enough as an individual to know that our mind has power. That the very things that we talk about here in this philosophy and faith and way of life isn't just something that we talk about and walk out of here on Sunday at noon and eat a little piece of pound cake and get a little coffee, and if you're lucky, a banana, right? That's not what it's about. We come here and we stir all of this up in mind, and the universe must respond, because that's what it does. That's what it does. The universe responds to the very thing that is taking place in our mind. But what we know in this philosophy and faith and way of life is that we're always at choice. You've heard me say it 100 times, and I'll probably say it 100 before. One of my favorite quotes of Gary Zukav says, choice is the engine of evolution. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you will evolve consciously. Consciously is better than unconsciously, he says. I know, been there, done that. Then he tells us, choice is the second greatest gift we've been given, second only to the gift of life itself. So what he's telling us is that once we become aware that we are at choice, which is the second greatest gift we've been given, that it is incumbent upon us to use it and to use it wisely. And so now that we've all said yes to being on this journey of finding personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening as a mystic, meaning that we're choosing to live as a being of oneness and acting accordingly, how do we do that? Well, Ernest Holmes addresses this concept in the book, The Science of Mind, in this way. He says that the teaching of the mystics has been that there should be a conscious courting of the divine presence. There should be a conscious receptivity to it, but a balanced one. As one of the apostles said, in substance, that he would rather speak 10 words with his understanding than 10,000 with confusion. He goes on to write, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. What he's telling us here is that as a mystic, and to follow the mystics, is to know that we are here to use our mind, to use our ability to think, to act, to react, to interact, solely for the purpose of courting consciously the presence of the divine. And to do that in a balanced way, meaning to not spend our life on a yoga mat or in meditation. To do that, but then get the hell up and go and engage in life. But in those moments of conflict at the drive-thru, at church, at the grocery store, on the telephone, while watching the news, when your hair doesn't do what it wants to do, you get it, fill in the blank. In all those moments, don't forget who you are. It's in that very moment to remember who you are. And to remember that you are the power and the presence and the wholeness and the completeness of the divine. And so is every other sentient being. Because we're all interconnected. And so our job here, if you will, is to become more and more and more and more aware of that and then live in accordance to that. And to know that when that confusion rises up, whether it's external or internal, to not give it power in the sense that it can throw you off your game, but to lean into it and ask the self, what am I to know here? What is the spiritual truth here? What is my spiritual truth here? What am I willing to face, confront, and let go of in this moment so that the deep-rooted qualities of peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom can rise up within me and make itself known? Well, for that to happen, we have to be very, very, very clear on who we are as a divine being. So what does it mean to court the presence of God? Well, Ernest goes on to tell us, it's important for us to remember there's one infinite mind from which all things come. Now, in class, we talked about this the other night in the sense that that's a big idea. And yet, we have the capacity to understand it in a greater way more and more and more should we choose to tend to our mind in an evolutionary manner. And what that means is to spend time courting the presence of God. He goes on to tell us, and I will repeat, there is one infinite mind from which all things come. This mind is through, in, and around the human. It is the only mind there is, and every time the human thinks they use it. There is one infinite substance, and every time the human moves, they move in it. What he's telling us is that it is in us, and we are in it, and there is nothing that we can do to diminish that, and there's nothing for us to do for there to be more of it. It simply is. And yet, there's a lot that we can do to experience more of it. And the only way to experience more of it is to consciously express more of it. That we, as we are, already are the self-knowing one. In other words, within us, we already know that there's only one thing taking place. We already know that. But our role is to let it rise up and express itself through us. That the universe in which we live is conscious of itself. Being one with the energy that gives life to this universe, we're conscious of ourselves. And that this is absolute. In other words, it's unchangeable. It can't be changed even if we want it to. And it goes on to tell us that this spirit within us, this very essence of life itself, this mental power, this self-knowing one, this universe that we're one with, that's conscious of itself, this unchangeable power within us, is the part of us that gives us the ability to know this is true and that that's who we are. So it's important to stop and remind ourselves to identify with our spiritual truth. Dean Jackson tells us that when you identify with the part of you that is eternal, you see the true value of yourself and others. That you treat yourself and everyone else as priceless spirits. Comparisons and divisions fade away, replaced by the peace and the knowledge of oneness. I love this because he tells us that it's important for us to go beyond just this and to identify with that part of us, the allness of us that is eternal. And when we do that, we begin to see the true value, not just the human value, but the value of spirit, the absolute, the conscious, the self-knowing, not only within us, but within everyone. Within everyone. And then we begin to see all of these beings as priceless beings of the one, meaning that they have no greater or less value than you or I or anyone else. That no matter what's showing up in the external or in the physical realm, that we're all equal in and as the mind of God. And that when we begin to live this way, comparisons and divisions fade away. And what's replaced in that moment is the peace and the knowledge of oneness. But today, I invite you and I encourage you to go beyond the knowledge, to ask yourself, how can you commit today to live from this knowledge and this awareness, to live from your spiritual nature, to live from the real you, especially in conflict. And to know that that's how we grow and flow and know as spiritual beings. That's how we do it, not to run away from the conflict, but to show up. One of the greatest lessons that I've learned in the last few years is that when that conflict shows up, and the truth is it may have been the last 6 weeks, when that conflict shows up to do something that is so contrary to my nature, and it's to do this, to shut the hell up and to just be present. To just be present and then to just trust. To just trust. To just trust. And in those situations when I get frustrated and anxious and I want to fix it or I want to control it or I want to make it be the way I want it to be, what I've learned to ask myself, what's wrong with you, fool? You're not in control of this. Practice what you preach. And then this voice comes of like, shut the hell up. Do what you need to do. And then I get to ask myself, why are you being called to try to fix it all? When I realize in that moment is because there's still some little part of me that may not really know that the power is unfailing by nature. That there's some little fear in me that I'm being judged or I might not be enough or that God's going to punish me. But yet, I then have the opportunity to take a step back and to ask myself, do I believe that there's a power greater for me in the universe? And there's a resounding yes that comes up. And then I get to ask myself, do I believe that it has the ability to fail? And the truth is, no, I don't believe that because it never has. And it never will. Because that's not its nature. Its nature is unfailing. And so then my role here in that moment is to lean into the real me, to lean into that space where I consciously court the presence and let it do its thing through me, to live as the real me. In closing, I'm going to read to you an article that was written by Dr. Ernest Holmes in this context. And he goes, there's a universal wholeness seeking expression through everything. Here we simply call it life. The religionist calls it God. The philosopher calls it reality. Life is infinite energy coupled with limitless creative imagination. It is the invisible essence and substance of every visible form. Its nature is goodness, truth, wisdom, and beauty, as well as energy and imagination. Our highest satisfaction comes from a sense of conscious union with this invisible life. All human endeavors are an attempt to get back to first principles and to find such an inward wholeness that any and all sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty vanishes. Today, I encourage you, as you leave here, to remember that its nature is your nature, which is that of goodness, truth, wisdom, and beauty, as well as energy and imagination. And so let today be the day that you imagine yourself perfect, whole, complete, free, bountiful, abundant, peaceful, beautiful, joyful, filled with light, life, love, and let the wisdom of God guide you every step of the way. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So any questions? Come on.
You did a great job of wrapping it up. Honestly, you just did a great job of wrapping it up. That's why I'm not finding your question.
Okay. Yes, Julia, the birthday girl.
Yeah, so when the inner conflict, and I'm in the class, and I'm having the same thing coming out about the zen-free zone, and yet I'm getting slammed right and left. So this helps a lot to see that perspective. It's like, okay, well, I'm kind of asking for this, so where in my life is it showing up, and it's hitting me like a ton of bricks, and then I'm aware of it. However, in certain incidents, regardless of the awareness, and I have choice here, I have choice here, I have choice here, I can't seem to make a shift.
Okay. So the question,
Figure out practical things that I can start implementing, even writing a note, so like when that comes up, I go, okay, try this.
so the question, so that our viewers and everyone in the room can hear that, you're saying that you're on this journey, you've been doing what you've been told to do in class, you're practicing that, you are aware that even in conflict that stuff may come up, right? And as that's unfolding, you still feel as if you do not have the tools necessary to be awakened on the journey in a way that satisfies what you think should be the outcome. Did I concise that? So, good. So I don't know who gave this quote. Somebody from years ago may remember this. But it's basically, well, then get your bloated ego and nothingness out of the way. Emerson says, so what that means, I know that's a little tongue-in-cheek, is that as opposed to telling yourself that you don't have what it takes to confront the challenges that are showing up in your life, is tell yourself that you do have it. And then trust that process. Because the universe is going to respond if you just have the patience to let it respond. I just went through a situation, I'm not going to give you great details, but basically it was confronted with some fear around, our beloved Sarah is moving on for 3 months in her life to experience love, and so her role has come available. And at first I was like, oh, I hate dealing with interviews, I blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, step away from this, right? Just step away from this. And then I organized my mind. I sat down on Friday. I went through all of the resumes. I narrowed it down from 8 to 5. I interviewed the 5. And I had this complete idea of exactly, and I printed out pictures of these individuals, exactly which one was going to be the right one. I knew it. I had it planned. It was going to happen. It was the 1:45 interview. That was going to be it. And as it was about to happen, I thought, get your ego out of the way. This isn't about you. Not the right fit at all. The very individual that I thought probably wouldn't be the right fit, the 2 o'clock, the perfect fit. The minute we said hello on the phone in a video the minute we said hello, the resonance field was there. So I share that in the context of what is required of us in this journey is to be aware that the conflict isn't always external. In fact, it's almost always internal. And in that moment, ask yourself, what do I truly believe? Not what do I want to believe, not what do I want to have happen here. What do I truly, truly believe? And let that answer come up. Because that's what is to be looked at. Does that help? But so often the case is we want to say to ourselves, well, I went to class on Thursday night and I did my homework and I did my vision board and I did 3 sets of meditation this week. By God, I got what it takes to handle this stuff, right? And the truth is you do, but you want it to look a certain way. As opposed to when you're stirring the pot in your subconscious mind, it's going to come up. We all think that spiritual healing is supposed to be pretty and om and meditation. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, I am God, there is one. It's rarely how it shows up. Right? Okay. Yes?
I wonder, I don't know, maybe this brings me practical. With all the internet things, and all the information coming in, and things that I didn't know about that are so evidently worldwide, how do you handle all the information without losing your mind, you know, and not necessarily spirituality, but trying to hang on to spirituality, knowing that there's just so much conflict and things I never knew about.
Okay. So the question is, with information coming at us at a super fast pace, because there's no doubt about it, information is coming at a faster pace than ever before, right? The question was, how do we hang on to our spirituality? Well, therein lies the crux of all of this. You don't hang on to your spirituality. Your spirituality, it's not a tree. You know, you don't swing from it. Your spirituality is within you. So you focus on that and let it rise up. It's not something you're seeking to be. It is something that you're allowing to reveal through you. Now, that's the spiritual nature of spirituality. From a human practical perspective is turn your computer off. Right? Turn the television off. Right? Right? We have a student in our class right now who's back at the welcome table right now and who's made a commitment to turn the radio off in the car. So, right? So just remember, choice is the second greatest gift we've been given to the gift of life itself. If what you are choosing to ingest in your being and body, whether it's food, alcohol, information, entertainment, whatever it is, if it is causing your being dis-ease, stop it, or the gift of life that you have isn't going to manifest itself on this plane of action in a way that you're going to be aware of the choices that you have. Now, it might be on the next dimension, but then this one's going to end. You guys get it? Disease causes death. So lean into ease, not dis-ease. A metaphor for ease, or another word for ease, is peace. So find peace. Got it? That was a really good answer, by the way. Okay, yes. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about that, actually.
Okay.
I have a conflict with, I used to just kind of fast from news because news upset me so much. And I would also turn and not look at the animal commercials for HSUS that bothered me, animal lover. And I would give them my money and then just fast forward the commercials that would come because I didn't want to see the pain. And that's the way I lived for quite a number of years, just trying to not watch the news and not watch the pain as best I could. And then I'm now in a place where I feel like, but maybe that was wrong, or that is a problem for us because when we don't look and we don't see what's happening, we don't solve problems, we don't vote. And we cause a big, huge problem to happen in our world. That's just one example, the animals, the voting. And so I feel now like I'm forced to turn on that news to see what's going on, even though it's painful to watch. Because I feel like I can't be naive to it anymore, or that I'm going to do.
So are you sharing, or is there a question?
The question is,
Okay.
I agree that you shouldn't look, but then I'm not looking because then I don't.
Okay, got it. So the question is, how do we manage staying informed in the world without allowing it to have a personal impact in a way, right? So that we're informed and we're making informed decisions, but yet it's not debilitating us. So I think that let's go there. Now, what was the next piece?
And to do things for others. You know, I mean, if we just choose not to look, then I feel like we're not fixing the world.
Okay. Well, I'm going to invite you to not speak in the we, speak in the I, because you're speaking for yourself. We were just told in this quote by Ernest to consciously court the presence of the divine and do that in life, but in a balanced manner. Right? So innate within all of us is the intuition of the divine. So, and the wisdom of the divine. So I think we all know if we're watching news for information purposes, right? And when we've become obsessed with it and it's driving us crazy, if so to speak, right? So I think the question is baby steps. So give yourself permission to find an outlet for education, for the news, right? And then also whether it's seeing how do you give in a way to help animals or people or whatever the case may be, right? So find that balance in one's life while understanding that you're always at choice, that we are all interconnected. So if you turn if one turns the television on, one of our homework assignments this week was to be able to, if you're really having a hard time courting the presence of the divine, I jokingly said to them, watching the last episode of the State of the Union, and consciously view each individual on there as the divine. I think it's a good homework assignment, right? So sort of the same thing. Consciously view this as there's information coming at you, but so often it's not the information that we're upset about, it's the individual that's presenting that information. So we have a human attachment to our judgment to that individual because they're not representing God the way we want them to, right? That's what there is to heal. So focus on them as a divine being during that process. Now, when it comes to helping, we are one with the universe. The universe's nature is to give. Therefore, our nature is to give. The more that we give, the more that we have the ability to receive. So if you're looking to evolve, then do it by giving. I know that sounds very broad, but it's not. It's actually pretty straightforward. So does that help? Yeah. And, I'll give you my personal opinion on, I had to see, I'm a little bit of a CNN junkie, and I had it on yesterday, and I have the ability to listen to that and write a talk. Not that I'm more evolved, I just can do that. But yesterday I was listening, I thought to myself, literally, and I'm not gonna tell you where I was standing when that happened, but I had this moment of, when did the news become a platform for every statement begins with, I think? Right? At least I remember in the 60s, opinion wasn't a part of it, right? So it was just an aha that I had. I'm like, okay, well, I certainly don't want to hear any of this because it's just their opinions. These aren't facts that are coming at me. I just want to hear facts, right? So that was my personal journey. So we all have them. There was one more and then we'll move on. Yes, Julia.
Isn't that somewhat similar to balancing physical emotions that come up? Because the idea of healing is revealing, but if you start feeling it and you take real estate up in that, say, lower vibration feeling, then that's not serving any higher purpose. But at the same time, if you don't have awareness around it, and allow yourself to be able to watch
I'm listening to you.
and you end up denying and repressing it, and then you end up just, again, not really getting it ahead. So
Yes.
there's that balancing act of healing it, revealing it, working through it, but not.
Well, also, don't judge yourself on the journey. Just stay awake on the journey. That's the key. Thank you. I'm going to close with a quote that speaks to that I had for us for today. And it's by an individual by the name of Anne Ray. And it's, world is a multi-dimensional reality. In other words, we're experiencing a multi-dimensional reality. At lower level, it is full with unconsciousness and competitiveness. At higher level, it is full with beauty, bliss, and divinity. Focus on higher dimensions. So that alone gives us the instruction that if we want to go through life constantly, more consistently being personally self-empowered through a spiritual awakening, then focus on beauty and bliss and divinity. And now it's not saying be blind. It's saying this is what you focus on as you navigate the activities of the day. So we feel good and complete? Great, wonderful. So to continue on this journey of divinity, I'm going to invite our ushers up and our musicians back up. And it's time for our conscious giving. And let's know that everything that you consciously give is deeply acknowledged, honored, and appreciated as a spiritual community that thrives on the flow of good. And so are we missing someone, Wendy? Sandy. Sandy! And so your methodology of giving and contributing financially is, now we have three. We have Gary, Wendy, and Connie. Is through cash, check, and or credit card. If you'd like to give a if you'd like to use a credit card, you can see Sandy, who's now at the back door in the back, or you can go on our website at csl-la.org and hit donate or our app in the App Store. I reframed, thanks to Wendy Waris, the lyrics for our new song, Love Is My Decision, on our printout. And so we sing that song just to remind ourselves that we are at choice. We're at choice to use love, the self-givingness of spirit whose desires to create more of itself out of itself in the flow of abundance as we give. And so let's begin that process. Thank you. Is my decision.
It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, Source will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now.
Thank you, Andy. So let me share with you what's happening here at CSL LA. We move into week 4 of the 8-week class, the mystical nature of conscious evolution. If you want to really engage in your life a greater understanding of how to use this work, I encourage you to be here. It's Thursday nights at 7:15, and it's a 2-hour class, and it's $22. The dance class continues on Friday. You can check all this information out on our website and our app. Our website is csl-la.org. Make sure to follow us on our social media sites, Instagram, Facebook. Also to let you know that very soon, we'll send out an announcement on this, but we're putting a new page on the app to request spiritual mind treatment. If people would like to do that, there's going to be a form they can fill out to get that information. We're going to go through our thank yous. If you guys could hold your applause till the end, I would greatly appreciate that. A huge thank you to Travis Smith in the back, who is our audio guy. I was sharing with him last week. I watched the live stream, and the sound is just fantastic. So a big thank you to Travis on that. And to Jesus Ernesto Reyes, who not only helps with setup, but all the other things that he does with us here. Our practitioner of the day, Joanne Worley, did a beautiful meditation upstairs earlier. A big thank you to Sandy Rovetta, who is at our welcome table and is our board member on duty. A big shout out and thank you to Olivia for her lighting of the candle today. A thank you to Sarah Nurmi, who does all our social media and Facebook Live. Thank you, Sarah. And to our new custodial staff, Rudy. If you guys haven't met him, I think it's his 3rd day here. Make sure to say hello to him. And a big thank you to Harold Payne and to Andy Belling there. So. Also, a big shout out and thank you to our security guy, Jose Espinal, who is fabulous. Yes. And I really want you guys to know I appreciate all of your personal interaction with him. That's great. And it draws him away from his post. So if you guys could let him stay at his post at the gate, that would be greatly appreciated. I know we're a very loving, engaging family, but when you all are talking with him about whatever it is you're talking about with him out there, he's not actually doing the job that he's paid for. So I'm not scolding, I'm just informing, okay, and asking. If you're a practitioner in the room, would you raise your hand, please? We have several here today. They'll be in the back of the room if anyone would like to see them for practitioner work today or to hear more about this teaching or to have any healing work done with you. So once again, I'd like to present to you Andy Belling and Harold Payne for our last song, and then we'll close with meditation.
me or not scribbling away over here and wondering what I was doing. I do a lot of improv and recap and custom songs for special events. And so, Andy, I apologize. We rehearsed this new song and went through it, but Spirit guided this song that I just wrote while the master was speaking over here. So, I'm going to throw this out. I have no idea what the melody, but I'm going to let it flow. It's not just about lying on a yoga mat in meditation. So when it comes to courting the divine and knowing how to stay in consciousness, when stuff happens, learn to process and shut the hell up. When we rise in consciousness, the world rises up with us, and the universe responds to the energy we put out. So we can all contribute in our own way to turning a positive whisper into a shout. So we know to grow, to flow. It's a matter of just letting go and let the wisdom we possess guide our happiness as we know to grow, to flow. Sometimes our most important spiritual growth happens in the midst of conflict, and we realize that we have a choice to change our own lives. And choice is the engine of our evolution. And we're all here on the way to getting it right. So we know to grow, to flow. It's a matter of just letting go and let the wisdom we possess guide our happiness as we know to grow, to flow. We need to stay out of the judgment zone, as we are not in this alone. And we can connect without the computer, the TV, or the smartphone. So we know to grow, to flow. It's a matter of just letting go and let the wisdom we possess guide our happiness. And Andy, I'm sorry for changing it all along the way when you're trying to follow. Something changes when I blink or swallow, as we know to grow, to flow.
Harold Payne, so fantastic, yes. So if you're here for the first time today, thank you for being here. If you're all relative, those of you that are new, thank you. And thank you to all of you for being here today and sharing in this experience of growth. So I invite you to close your eyes as we close in a brief meditation. Love that Harold's picking up his papers. Just taking a deep breath in. Just feeling the energy of the room of joy. Being connected to the experience that we just witnessed of spontaneity and creativity, which is the wisdom of the divine making itself known. And so that which expressed itself as the divine, as Harold Payne, exists within each one of us. It's an example for us that as we walk beyond the doors of this room that we share in community, that we're being called to be equally as spontaneous and creative, to engage in life anew, to use the information and the language and the wisdom of the divine that's been shared today as a baseline, as a template, as a foundation from how we now engage in life. Letting go of what was planned, and any attachment to the past. And feeling the release of that. We open up. And give permission to the voice of the divine to express itself as our voice. And so we speak with love. We act with compassion. And we give as our nature. And it's from this place that we grow and flow and know as the innate spirit that is within. We let it out to play as we play with it and say together. And so it is. Namaste. Thank you. Have a great day, a great week, and I look forward to seeing you when I see you next. Peace and blessings.